A homeless veteran saved a young boy from attackers, and he was shocked to discover who the boy's father was. The city that never sleeps was wide awake, draped in a glistening veil of holiday cheer. Amidst this festive chaos walked Michael Thompson, a man whose presence was often overlooked, blending into the shadows cast by the towering skyscrapers. At 45, Michael's weathered face and unkempt beard told stories of battles fought both on distant shores and within his own mind. Once a proud soldier, he had returned home to find that the war had followed him, manifesting in memories he couldn't escape, and a society that moved on without him. Michael trudged through the snow-covered streets, his worn-out boots leaving faint imprints that were quickly swallowed by the ever-falling flakes. He passed by store windows, adorned with lavish displays, the warmth inside a stark contrast to the cold solitude of the outside world. Families laughed and children pressed their faces against the glass, their eyes wide with wonder at the mechanical toys and shimmering decorations. For Michael, the city's merriment was a distant echo. His reality was defined by the park benches he slept on and the soup kitchens that offered temporary relief. Yet even in his plight, he retained a sense of purpose. He would share his meager rations with others, offering a helping hand or a kind word to those who found themselves in similar straits. It was his way of clinging to the fragments of honor and duty that had once defined him. Tonight, as he navigated the crowded sidewalk, he couldn't help but notice the stark contrast between the city's glittering facade and the shadows that lurked at its edges. He paused near a small alley, his instincts honed by years of military service, making him aware of his surroundings. The festive noise of the street seemed to fade, replaced by a muffled cry for help. Michael's heart quickened. He scanned the area, his eyes narrowing as he discerned the source of the distress. Down the dimly lit alley, a small figure was struggling, surrounded by a group of men whose intentions were anything but festive. Without a second thought, Michael sprang into action, his body moving with the precision and swiftness of a trained soldier. "Hey, get away from him!" Michael's voice boomed, startling the attackers. He closed the distance swiftly, his imposing figure causing them to falter. What followed was a blur of motion, punches and kicks delivered with practiced efficiency, the kind of fight that left no room for hesitation. The men, realizing they were outmatched, scattered into the night, leaving their victim behind. The boy, no older than 8, looked up at Michael with wide, tear-filled eyes. His clothes were torn, and his face was streaked with dirt and fear. Michael knelt down, his stern expression softening as he met the child's gaze. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice gentle now. The boy nodded shakily, his lower lip quivering. Thank you," he stammered. "I got lost. I was trying to find my dad." Michael's heart ached at the sight. "Let's get you out of here," he said, extending a hand. The boy took it, his small fingers clutching tightly as they emerged from the alley. Back on the main street, the festive atmosphere seemed almost surreal compared to the danger they had just escaped. Michael flagged down a passing cab and helped the boy inside, then turned to the driver. "We need to get to the nearest police station," he said. As the cab navigated the city streets, Michael learned more about the boy, whose name was Ethan. He was the son of Jonathan Parker, a wealthy real estate mogul. Ethan had wandered off while his father was engaged in a business meeting, drawn by the dazzling lights and festive displays. When they arrived at the police station, the officers were quick to act, contacting Ethan's father and ensuring the boy's safety. As they waited, Ethan clung to Michael, his fear slowly giving way to trust and gratitude. It wasn't long before Jonathan Parker arrived, his expensive coat flapping in the wind as he rushed inside. His eyes were filled with a mix of relief and worry as he saw his son safe and sound. "Ethan!" Jonathan exclaimed, dropping to his knees to embrace the boy. "Thank God you're okay." Ethan smiled, still holding on to Michael's hand. "Dad, this man saved me." Jonathan looked up at Michael, his eyes scrutinizing the disheveled figure before him. "Thank you," he said, his voice carrying both gratitude and skepticism. "I owe you a great deal." Michael shrugged, feeling the weight of the moment. "Just doing what anyone would," he replied. But Jonathan knew better. He saw something in Michael's eyes, a depth of experience and a sense of honor that was rare. He stood, extending a hand. "Jonathan Parker, please, let me help you in return." Michael hesitated, the instinct to refuse charity battling with the undeniable truth that he needed help. Finally, he shook Jonathan's hand. "Michael Thompson." As the night drew to a close, Michael couldn't help but wonder if this encounter was the beginning of something new. For the first time in a long while, hope flickered in the depths of his heart, mingling with the city's festive lights and the promise of redemption. The following morning, the first light of dawn filtered through the tall buildings of New York City, casting a soft, golden hue over the streets. The chill in the air had not yet dissipated, but the city was already stirring to life, the hum of activity beginning to grow. Michael Thompson, with Ethan's thanks and Jonathan's promise of help lingering in his mind, found himself standing outside an upscale coffee shop in Midtown. He pulled his thin coat tighter around him, feeling the weight of the past night's events and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Jonathan Parker had insisted on meeting here, a place that seemed worlds apart from Michael's usual haunts. The gleaming storefront and well-dressed patrons were a stark contrast to the shelters and soup kitchens Michael frequented. He took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders as he stepped inside. The warmth of the shop enveloped him, and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the distant sound of holiday music playing softly in the background. Jonathan was easy to spot, seated at a corner table with 2 steaming cups of coffee in front of him. His sharp suit and composed demeanor made him stand out, even in this polished crowd. As Michael approached, Jonathan stood and extended his hand, his expression a mix of gratitude and curiosity. "Michael," Jonathan greeted warmly. "I'm glad you could make it." Michael shook his hand, feeling the firm grip of a man accustomed to control and confidence. "Morning," he replied, taking a seat. "Thanks for inviting me." Jonathan sat down, pushing one of the cups toward Michael. "It's the least I could do after what you did for Ethan. I owe you a debt I can never fully repay." Michael nodded, feeling a bit out of place but appreciating the gesture. "Just glad he's safe," he said, wrapping his hands around the warm cup. The heat seeped into his fingers, bringing a comfort he hadn't felt in a long time. Jonathan leaned forward, his expression serious. "I want to help you, Michael. Not just a token gesture, but real help. Tell me about yourself. What led you to that alley last night?" Michael hesitated, unsure of how much to reveal. But something in Jonathan's eyes, the genuine concern, the earnestness, compelled him to speak. "I'm a former soldier," he began slowly. "Served overseas for years. When I came back, things were different, harder. I couldn't hold down a job, couldn't find my place, ended up on the streets." Jonathan listened intently, his eyes never leaving Michael's face. "I can't imagine what that must be like," he said softly. "But I want to help you get back on your feet. You deserve a chance to rebuild your life." Michael took a sip of his coffee, the rich, bitter taste grounding him. "I appreciate that," he said, "but it's not just about me. There are so many out there like me, struggling every day. I'm not looking for charity. I want to earn my way back." Jonathan nodded thoughtfully. "I respect that, and I think I can help. I have connections, resources. I can help you find work, a place to stay. But more than that, I want to make a difference. For you, and for others in your situation." Michael looked at him, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "Why? Why go out of your way for someone like me?" Jonathan's expression softened. "Because you saved my son's life, and because I believe in giving people a second chance. Everyone deserves that." The sincerity in Jonathan's voice was unmistakable. Michael felt a surge of gratitude mixed with a cautious optimism. "All right," he said finally, "I'll accept your help, but I want to earn it." Jonathan smiled, a genuine, relieved smile. "We'll make it happen, Michael, together." Over the next few days, Jonathan set the wheels in motion. He arranged for Michael to stay in a modest but comfortable apartment, providing him with a sense of stability he hadn't known in years. Jonathan's assistant, a resourceful woman named Emily, took care of the logistics, ensuring Michael had everything he needed to start afresh. Michael found himself at the offices of Parker Real Estate, a towering building of glass and steel that symbolized Jonathan's success. Jonathan had arranged a job for him, a chance to prove himself. Michael walked through the sleek lobby, feeling the eyes of the staff on him, their curiosity palpable. He stepped into the elevator, riding up to the executive floor where Jonathan's office was located. Jonathan met him at the elevator, his demeanor as professional as ever. "Michael, I'd like you to meet someone," he said, guiding him to a nearby office. "This is Sarah Collins. She's a social worker who has helped us with various community projects. I think she can be a valuable resource for you." Sarah stood up, offering a warm smile and a handshake. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Michael. I've heard a lot about you." Michael shook her hand, feeling a sense of relief at her friendly demeanor. "Nice to meet you too, Sarah." Jonathan gestured for them to sit. "Sarah has been working on a program to help veterans reintegrate into society. I think you'll find her guidance invaluable." Sarah nodded, her eyes filled with empathy. "We'll work together, Michael. I'm here to support you every step of the way." Michael felt a swell of gratitude, the enormity of the opportunity dawning on him. He glanced at Jonathan, who gave him an encouraging nod. "Thank you," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. "Both of you." Over the next weeks, Michael threw himself into his new role. He started as a facilities manager, overseeing the maintenance and operations of several properties owned by Parker Real Estate. It was hard work, but it gave him a sense of purpose. His days were filled with tasks that required his skills and attention, and he found satisfaction in the routine and the tangible results of his labor. Sarah checked in regularly, providing guidance and support. She connected him with resources for veterans, helping him navigate the challenges of reintegration. Michael began attending therapy sessions to address his lingering traumas, and he found solace in sharing his experiences with others who understood his struggles. Ethan became a frequent visitor, bringing a lightness to Michael's life that he hadn't known in years. The boy's innocence and curiosity were a constant reminder of the good that could come from even the darkest moments. Jonathan's gratitude and support never wavered, and he often invited Michael to family dinners, integrating him into their lives. One evening, as Michael sat in his modest apartment, reflecting on how far he had come, he realized that he was no longer just surviving. He was living. The road ahead was still long, but he had found a path forward, illuminated by the kindness of those who believed in him. And in the heart of New York City, amidst the towering skyscrapers and the bustling streets, Michael Thompson discovered that even the smallest acts of courage and kindness could lead to the most profound transformations. Winter's chill was giving way to the first whispers of spring as Michael Thompson's life began to take shape once more. The days had started to stretch out, and with each one he felt more connected to the world he had once thought forever lost. Michael's transformation was not just a matter of circumstance, but a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of community. Sarah Collins, the social worker Jonathan had introduced, became an integral part of Michael's support system. She was in her early 30s, with a warm smile and a tenacity that belied her gentle appearance. Sarah had dedicated her life to helping those society often overlooked, and she saw in Michael a strength that could inspire others. "Michael, I've arranged a meeting with a group of veterans who've been through similar experiences," Sarah said one morning as they sat in her office, the sunlight streaming through the windows. "I think you'll find it helpful." Michael nodded, appreciating her effort. "Thank you, Sarah. I'm willing to try anything." The group meetings were held in a community center downtown. Michael was hesitant at first, the old fear of judgment and rejection gnawing at him. But as he listened to the stories of others, men and women who had faced their own demons and fought their way back, he began to feel a kinship. They spoke of battles both on foreign soil and within their minds, of loss and the slow journey to recovery. In these meetings, Michael found solace. He shared his own story, the words coming easier with each session. The act of speaking his truth, of acknowledging his pain and his resilience, was healing. Sarah was always there, offering quiet support and guidance, helping him navigate the complexities of his emotions. Outside the group, Sarah and Michael worked on practical matters. She helped him set goals and find ways to stay motivated. Together, they tackled the bureaucratic maze of veteran services, securing benefits and support that had previously seemed out of reach. "Have you thought about what you want to do next?" Sarah asked one afternoon as they walked through Central Park, the first blossoms of spring coloring the trees. Michael paused, considering. "I want to help others," he said finally, "like you and Jonathan have helped me. Maybe I could work with veterans, show them that there's a way back." Sarah smiled. "I think that's a wonderful idea, Michael. You have so much to offer." Michael's bond with Ethan also grew. The boys' visits were a bright spot in his week, their time together filled with laughter and simple joys. They explored the city, visiting museums, parks, and the occasional baseball game. Ethan's innocence and joy were a balm to Michael's soul, reminding him of the simple pleasures of life. Jonathan continued to be a steady presence. He and Michael often talked about the future, both personal and professional. Jonathan's influence and connections opened doors that Michael had thought forever closed. "You've done more than just survive, Michael," Jonathan said one evening over dinner at his home. "You've thrived, and I believe you can help others do the same." Michael nodded, feeling the truth of Jonathan's words. He was ready to take the next step, to give back in a meaningful way. Spring had fully blossomed, bringing with it a sense of renewal and hope. Michael's transformation was evident in every aspect of his life. He had moved into a more permanent apartment, modest yet comfortable, a place he could truly call home. His job at Parker Real Estate had become more than just work. It was a symbol of his journey and his commitment to rebuilding his life. But it was the bond with Ethan and the friendship with Jonathan and Sarah that truly anchored him. They had become his family, their support and belief in him a constant source of strength. One bright morning, as Michael was overseeing the renovation of a new property, Jonathan approached him with a proposal. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about wanting to help others," Jonathan began, his tone serious yet hopeful. "I'd like to start a foundation aimed at helping veterans reintegrate into society, and I want you to lead it." Michael's heart skipped a beat. The idea was daunting, but the opportunity was too meaningful to pass up. "I'd be honored, Jonathan. Truly." Jonathan smiled. "I can't think of anyone better suited for this. You've lived it, Michael. You know what it takes to come back from the edge." Together, they laid the groundwork for the foundation. Sarah was instrumental in its formation, her expertise and passion driving the initiative forward. They planned programs for job training, mental health support, and community building, everything Michael had found crucial in his own recovery. The launch of the foundation brought a mix of excitement and trepidation. The pressure to succeed, to make a real difference, weighed heavily on Michael's shoulders, but he was determined to honor the trust and faith Jonathan, Sarah, and Ethan had placed in him. As the foundation grew, Michael found himself facing old demons, memories of combat, the loss of comrades, and the struggles of reintegration resurfaced. It was during one of these moments, late at night in his quiet apartment, that he realized he needed to confront his past fully. He began intensive therapy, encouraged by Sarah and supported by Jonathan. The process was painful, but it was also liberating. He delved into his memories, facing the trauma head-on, and slowly, the nightmares began to fade. The weight on his shoulders lessened, replaced by a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. Summer arrived, bringing with it the first major successes of the foundation. Veterans who had been struggling found hope and support through their programs. Michael's story became an inspiration, a testament to the power of resilience and community. Michael's relationship with Ethan continued to flourish. The boy's presence in his life was a constant source of joy and motivation. They spent weekends exploring the city, fishing at nearby lakes and sharing stories. Ethan's innocence and wonder were infectious, reminding Michael of the simple pleasures of life. Jonathan, too, had undergone a transformation. The driven, sometimes ruthless businessman had softened, finding a new balance between his professional ambitions and his personal values. The foundation became a passion project, a way for him to give back and make a tangible difference. As autumn leaves began to fall, Michael stood before a group of veterans, sharing his journey. The room was filled with men and women who had faced their own battles, their eyes reflecting the struggles and triumphs they had endured. "I stand here today, not as a hero, but as someone who was given a second chance," Michael said, his voice steady and strong. "And it's my mission to ensure that each of you has that same opportunity. Together, we can rebuild our lives and find our place in this world." The applause was thunderous, a testament to the impact Michael had made. He looked out at the faces before him, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. After the event, Jonathan approached, a proud smile on his face. "You've done it, Michael. You've made a difference." Michael nodded, a sense of peace settling over him. "We've done it, Jonathan, all of us." That evening, Michael joined the Parker family for dinner. The warmth of their home, the laughter and the shared stories were a stark contrast to the cold streets he had once roamed. He looked around, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought him here. The holiday season arrived once more, bringing with it a sense of joy and reflection. The city was alight with festive decorations, and the Foundation's efforts had made a significant impact on the lives of many veterans. Michael spent Christmas Eve with the Parker family. The house was filled with the scent of pine and baking cookies, the warmth of the fire casting a cozy glow. Ethan was buzzing with excitement, his laughter echoing through the halls. As they gathered around the tree, exchanging gifts and sharing stories, Michael felt a profound sense of belonging. He looked at the faces around him. Jonathan, whose gratitude and support had changed his life. Sarah, whose guidance had been a beacon of hope. And Ethan, whose innocence and joy had brought light to his darkest days. Years passed, and the Foundation grew, helping countless veterans find their footing in a world that often seemed to move too fast. Michael's story became a symbol of hope, his journey an inspiration to many. Ethan grew up, his bond with Michael deepening. He followed in his father's footsteps, becoming involved in the Foundation and continuing the mission of helping those in need. Jonathan's influence remained strong, his legacy one of compassion and community. Michael, now a pillar of strength and hope, looked back on his life with gratitude. He had found his place, his purpose. The streets that had once been a symbol of despair had become a backdrop to his story of redemption and transformation. As he stood in Central Park one crisp autumn day, watching the leaves fall, he reflected on the journey that had brought him here. The path had been long and arduous, but it had led to a life filled with meaning and connection. And in the heart of New York City, amidst the ever-changing skyline and the constant hum of life, Michael Thompson had found his home.